Walk me to the very beginning of when you started to decide to stream.
Straight up, I went to the dentist and they were like, yeah, it's going to be like 50 grand to fix your teeth. And I said, yeah, I got to make some more money. There's some people that have a great personality to play these rage-inducing games. For me, I don't, because I actually get mad. Like, and then it's like, okay, well, now I'm banning people in chat for calling me bad. Like, it's just a bad experience. Like,
What do you think of Conor McGregor?
she's such an asshole. He's such an asshole. He's the perfect villain.
Let's talk about this baldness situation. How did this come about? Was somebody just with you on the chat?
I can't go bald because I'm too skinny. Because you know what that looks like, right? If you're skinny and you're bald, it's like, oh man. That's just, yeah, it's just not gonna cut it.
Oh, it's 15-time world champion Demetrious Johnson. You're listening to the MightyCast.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the MightyCast. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you guys might not know this gentleman because this is a mixed martial arts channel, but I am a true fan of this gentleman and I'm a true gamer. It's my first passion. It would always be my passion. And this man has made me see the light on quitting World of Warcraft. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the great, powerful Asmon. Asmon, how you doing today, brother?
Oh man, what an intro. Yeah, and that's basically, I guess, kind of what I did. And I remember I met you, ironically, at BlizzCon, though. And we just were talking about that before we started. We actually met randomly whenever I was getting ready to leave the last day, and you just walked in and you were like, hey, Asmon. I said, I know who that is. Oh my God. Yeah. And so thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I didn't know where to start, man, but I'm going to start. Like, I think you're so intelligent. You're very creative.
Thanks, man. You're
absolutely hilarious. I love your eyebrows. I don't think you're going bald. Okay, I think you have luscious hair. It's going good. Walk me to the very beginning of when you started to decide to stream, right? Because I've only been introduced to you via World of Warcraft when you would do the Transmog, you know, the tournaments. We're gonna get to that because I think it's an amazing thing you do for the community. But how did you get started on streaming, creating content?
Well, I made YouTube videos in like 2014, and then straight up, I went to the dentist, and they were like, yeah, it's going to be like 50 grand to fix your teeth. And I said, damn, yeah, I got to make some more fucking money. And so that, as soon as that happened, I started, hey, you know what, maybe I'll start streaming. I'll see what's going to happen, right? Try and take things to the next level. And so I started streaming just, you know, kind of whenever I was bored. I remember it was like my dad went on a vacation. And so a lot of days whenever I would normally go over to his house, I would just, in fact, instead go and stream and do that. And then I started doing that regularly, and it started doing really well. Like, you know, my stream kind of like there's a lot of people who it takes them a long time for them to get popular. And I kind of did that work on YouTube. And so whenever I went onto Twitch, people kind of knew who I was because I had a couple of like semi-viral videos in like the WoW community at that time. And then I started like getting a lot more popular on Twitch, and things kind of just snowballed from there. Like, that's basically what happened is I was like, yeah, I need to make some fucking money. And so I decided to do that and on top of doing YouTube.
So you every night. So you would start on YouTube, and then you went to stream the content, gaming content on Twitch. Typically, what I've been told is that typically when you stream on one, you don't want to stream on the other. That's what I've been told. And so it was opposite for you. You create your content on YouTube, and then you would stream on Twitch, and that brought the eyeballs from YouTube to Twitch.
Well, you look at it as like it's a symbiotic relationship where like YouTube feeds into Twitch, and then Twitch also feeds into YouTube. So like I had already, and I was only making videos on YouTube. I did a couple of live streams on YouTube, but I just liked doing live streams on Twitch more. I thought it was just kind of a better system. And so I went over there. But YouTube live streaming now even is actually very good. But anyway, so I was streaming a lot on Twitch, and then those videos, like whenever my stream went from like getting like 10,000 or like 8,000 viewers, it went from like that to like 20 or 30,000, like really, really fast. The way that happened was actually YouTube. Because like I had a lot of different random channels. Remember like Cat Danny and Daily Dose of Asmongold, like all those little channels. Well, they would just upload these videos, and they were really popular. And then people would start watching the live show as well. So I think that it's a bad idea maybe to like multi-stream at the same time. And I'm seeing evidence against that as well. So I think it really depends on a person and what kind of audience you have and like what your goals are as like a content creator. But I think for me, it was good to stream on Twitch and then have the videos converted and then have them put on YouTube. So people could like have the same experience, but like YouTube was a more curated experience.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Because I streamed 9 years on Twitch. And for some reason, my channel would never grow. It just never did. And I was kind of like, I'll just play, you know, World of Warcraft, Street Fighter 6, well, not Street Fighter 6, but Street Fighter, Escape from Tarkov, just, you know, oh, it's a new game. You got to play the new game. And then once I finally stopped streaming on Twitch and switched over to YouTube full time, that's when I saw the growth of my channel. Where now, last time I streamed, I had like 600 viewers. And so people were like, oh, you got to stream back on Twitch. You gotta, you know, go everywhere and stream. I was like, I don't see it because on Twitch, I always felt like Twitch was, you know, I've seen people stream on there for years and their channel solely has like 20 viewers, 15 viewers. I'm like, what the fuck? It's just not growing. So you're saying, you know, it's a good symbiotic relationship to have both.
Well, it's like I looked up your channel, like it was like last night, and I saw your videos, and you have a lot of videos that are like getting like 100,000 over 200,000 views. Like your YouTube channel is doing amazing, man. And like, I think that's awesome. And like, I think one of the reasons why it's harder to get an audience on Twitch is because people are looking for UFC videos on YouTube, but they're not necessarily looking for that type of content really as much on Twitch necessarily, right? Because YouTube, think about like, there's like 1 billion people on YouTube and there's like maybe, you know, 50 million people on Twitch. So it's just such a more small and narrow audience. So, and also you think about the way that like streams are aggregated and like you look on your phone, you look on the desktop, streams are generally aggregated based off of viewer count. So like if you only have 100 viewers, you're probably going to stay there. But if you get a lot of viewers, you're probably going to go up. And so it's like a snowball situation where it's like whenever you win, you keep winning. But whenever you're losing, you lose even more, right? And so that's what ends up happening. And it's kind of a bad thing about the website, to be honest with you. I don't know how Twitch can really solve this problem, but I do think it is a problem.
Gotcha. When you say you keep on winning, you're winning, and you keep on losing, like, fuck, man, I feel like I'm back in Vegas at the craps table. So like, I'm trying to win. I'm winning.
Well, that's the way people feel, right? And like streaming is like that because it's so random. It's like, oh, I wonder if today it's going to be good. And you have like, you know, especially for like smaller content creators that don't really have any other form of income or anything. Like there's also like literal gambling. I hope somebody donates $50 today, right? And like, so yeah, I mean, but it's that simple, right? And there it is. And so, yeah, it's a crazy reward structure. And, you know, a lot of people get really attached to it. But my best advice for anybody is to not try to build a brand on Twitch. Try to build it on TikTok. Try to build it on YouTube. Basically anywhere else but Twitch.
What's going on, guys? This video is sponsored by GFuel. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we all know GFuel has amazing flavors for the energy formula. We're getting your caffeine along with the multivitamin. But now, GFuel has come out with a brand new product. Boom! GFuel Energy Plus Protein, caffeine and protein. You're gonna get 15 grams of whey protein along with 140 milligrams of caffeine. It's a perfect combination to take before you go to the gym. I enjoy taking protein and caffeine before I go to the gym. Caffeine is a great energy source. It's natural, and along with the protein, it's gonna help supplement your muscles and replenish the muscles and when you break them down. So if you want to give GFuel, the brand new Energy Plus Protein, a try, all you got to do is go to gfuel.com. And when you do that, make sure you use my promo code MIGHTY. That'll help you save 20% on your complete order. They have some delicious flavors. They got cafe mocha, French vanilla latte, and they also have chocolate. If you guys out there and you love your caffeine and you love your damn coffee, look no further. Get the Energy Plus Protein GFuel. Brand new product. Don't wait. Go to gfuel.com. Promo code MIGHTY. Back to the content. But for you, it's worked out. Well, you started on YouTube, then you transition over to Twitch, and you still make your videos on Asmongold TV. And for you, if it wasn't for the dentist, you probably wouldn't have done that. And you've been successful by doing what you did. Now you stream and create content full time, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I stream pretty much every single day.
Damn. every single day. And when you're streaming, I remember last time we were going to do this podcast, I think it was a week ago, but you started a new game. What game have you just started?
Oh, I started playing Dragon's Dogma 1, and it was actually like really, have you played it before?
I have not.
It's so the second game is going to come out like really, really soon. I think it's on the 22nd it gets released. And I played the first one, and it was obviously kind of dated because it was from 10 years ago, but it was really astonishing to see like how actually very clean and well designed the game was in a lot of cases. And I wanted to play it leading up to the second game. Now, obviously, like playing it on stream, like there's games that are better and worse for stream content just based off of like kind of like how much like backtracking do you have to do? Like how much action is there in the game? And like Dragon's Dogma is definitely not like a stream game, but it's a great experience of a game. And I've been playing that a lot myself.
Gotcha. Now, how do you dictate what game is good to stream, what game is not? Like, let's say you really, like, for example, for me, I really enjoy playing Street Fighter 6. I love it. I get pissed off. I get emotional about it. I care about the game. I wanted the game to succeed. But when I stream it, it might get about 150, 200 views. But if, let's say I play UFC 5, which I don't really like playing the game, but I'm in the game, I'll get like, 1,300 to 2,000 viewers. How do you pick a game where it's like, okay, this is a game I'm going to stream, it's going to kill it? Or do you even stream? Well, I know you have two channels. You have Zachra and you have, Asmongold. Yeah. Which one, how do you decide like, hey, I'm playing on this channel, I'm going to play on this game, on this channel?
I think for me, like there's a lot of games where you have to go into it with an expectation. Like obviously people are going to want to watch you play UFC because you're a fucking UFC champion. And so it's the same as like, like there's like a person that's really good at Counter-Strike. And so people all want to watch them play Counter-Strike and it's like Street Fighter is it's also like fighting and like martial arts in the same extent, but there's not like as much of a direct connection. It's the same as like a lot of people, it's hard to branch out into that. But I do think that like people would want to watch you play Street Fighter because Street Fighter also is it's a popular game, right? There's a lot of people like I think Street Fighter 6 is totally popped off. It's been way bigger than I think Street Fighter 5 was.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, the mechanics they've done with the game is just absolutely prime. It's moist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've watched a lot of gameplay for it, actually. I'm not really a big player of it myself. I don't really play fighting games, but I like watching them. It might sound weird, but that's generally how it is. And I think for me, deciding like which game to stream versus which one that I don't want to stream, what I kind of base that off of is like how fast is the content happening? How much do I have to kind of, put myself into the content? Like how repetitive is the content? And so, and also it's like your personality. Like, for example, like there's some people that have a great personality to play, like, for example, like these rage inducing games. Like for me, I don't because I actually get mad. And so like, then it's like, okay, well now I'm banning people in chat for calling me bad. Like it's just a bad experience. Like, I'm just an asshole, right? That's it. And so it's like, maybe I shouldn't play that kind of a game. So I try to look for games that like really fit my personality more than, like just I don't think a good stream game is like always objective. There's like some objective measurements, sure. But like there's also a lot of subjective measurements with like kind of what type of vibe do you go for? What's your personality? And like, how does it fit with a certain game or the way that you play a certain game even?
Gotcha. No, I love it. Like I always love when you would play WoW and you would always give your honest critique of every expansion that comes out. Like I'll sit there, listen to it. And when Shadowlands came out, so I give you some background of when I started playing WoW. I started playing WoW in Burning Crusade. I was training at the gym. My buddy was like, dude, you got to play this game. They got this badass guy named Illidan. He's got these two swords, there's, the Shards of Azimuth, I think it was called.
Yeah.
There it is. He was like, you got to get it, man. It's when you go to, Electronic Boutique, you get the game, you get the disc, you see the Blood Elves, the Draenei. Went home, started playing it, fell in love with the game. I was also training full time, so I didn't have an opportunity to find a guild or anything like that. I was always doing, pick-me-ups. And my favorite raid was Karazhan. My favorite fight was the Morose fight where you fight him at the dinner table.
Yeah.
And I played, Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, and actually played the one before Burning Crusade, which was Warcraft 3, the Frozen Throne, right?
Oh, yeah. I went so hard on that game. Yeah, I remember whenever it came out.
So I remember playing that, and then the game basically took off. Like the game, World of Warcraft started after that, but Burning Crusade started right after that, after Warcraft. Fast forward, I didn't play Mists of Pandaria. I played Cataclysm. I played Warlords of Draenei, and then I played what's after that one? That's Legion, I believe, right? Legion.
Yeah. After WoD, it was Legion.
Yeah, Legion, and then Battle of Azeroth, and then Shadowlands. Shadowlands is when it all fell apart for me. And what killed it for me was I remember I was a rogue, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go Kyrian because you wanted, you know, the buff when you hit your Kyrian specialty. And then, you know, the next patch, it's Sepsis. I forget what the Night Fae. It was that one. Then after that, it was Vampirian. And then you did a video, and you're like, you know what? You know about WoW? Your eyebrows are fucking talking for you. It's doing its thing. And then you're like, every time you make a decision, it's always wrong. You can't make the correct decision because let's say, this is how I want to play the character, but it's not right. It's not meta. And then next thing you know, nobody's going to want to play with you. Nobody's going to pick you up. They'll say you can't maximize your character. When you did that video, I was like, I'm done playing WoW. I was like, Asmon's right. Every decision I make, even though I think it's correct, it's absolutely wrong. That's what killed it for me. And you showed me the light, and now I haven't played WoW ever since. Even though I do miss it, I miss it dearly because I miss the Burning Crusade and I miss the Wrath of Lich King. Now I'm like, I just don't ever see myself playing again.
Do you ever play Classic?
So I did play Classic, and it cracked me up because I remember I was trying to do a mission, and we were all lined up to kill one guy. Like it was actually we're
we do the same thing.
Like it's like, dude, when is this character going to spawn so I can kill it? And then we all had a line. So I tried to play Classic, but I just couldn't get into it. It was just so hard to do it.
Yeah, I mean, like Classic, there's a lot of time and investment you have to do, and like Season of Discovery is like kind of that in between point. Like if I was going to suggest anybody to come back and play WoW at all, it would probably be to try Season of Discovery, especially since now you have like more experience in it and everything like that. You can get more, like you level up faster basically. And it's a fun game, right? It definitely is. Like for me, I kind of felt the same way about Shadowlands, and it was like WoW for a long time, like had this system where it was like, they would always make you do the thing in a way that's not fun and then make the game fun later on. Or make it more rewarding. And it's like you kind of have to play the bad version for some arbitrary period of time and then find that you can actually, you know, have them fix the game to where it's like functioning properly. And I think that Blizzard kind of got away from that with Dragonflight. But the issue is that like the storyline and like the premise of Dragonflight, I don't think really resonates with a lot of people. It's like kind of, in my opinion, I think it's like really kind of like too soft, right? Especially compared to like how badass Illidan was or Warcraft 3. It's not. I'm like, what is this? Like, like this. It's like every time is like the characters talking about how like they feel like hugging each other. Like, I just want to have like two dudes, like, you know, like Garrosh and Thrall, like beating the shit out of each other. Like, what is this? And so, like Dragonflight is like not really that same kind of vibe. But I mean, you know, Classic WoW still has that community to it, which is great. But you're right. Like WoW definitely isn't the same as like the way it used to be. I mean, even like 5 years ago, I think that like having BFA and like all the problems that were in BFA, and then Shadowlands to come in after that, and then like there was also that weird like sexual stuff in like the Blizzard offices, and then on top of that, Dragonflight was kind of like a what is this expansion? I just think like WoW, they kind of need to just do like a hard reboot of the game, I think.
Yeah. Well, I felt like there was one point in time where Blizzard was like top dog when it came to PC gaming, when like Diablo 2 came out and, you know, World of Warcraft, Burning Crusade, Wrath of Lich King came out. It was almost like they would call it the era of like Capcom, where Capcom had Devil May Cry. It had all the bangers for PlayStation 2.
Monster Hunter. Yeah.
Monster Hunter. It was just, they were just killing it. And I felt like now Blizzard is having a hard time struggling because Diablo 4 was a big letdown for me. Like when I played Diablo 4, I was like super excited about it. I love Diablo 2. Diablo 3 was kind of wishy-washy. You know, you do your rifts, and next thing you know, you got a weapon that's doing like 9 million damage. It's like, why do I need to do something with 9 million damage? Like, how fucking much health does this guy have? Yeah. It just completely lost me. And like now, seeing where they're at with Dragonflight, you know, Diablo 4 is pretty much a dud. I just saw you do a video about it. Like, you know, Diablo 4, they fooled us or whatever. Like, it's it makes me sad to see it, but it's like, how can a company so big keep taking L's?
I think that's the reason, because they're that big. That's what it is. Well, it's like you think about it, right? And if you have like Diablo had like what 600-700 people working on the game, like think about how long it takes to get a consensus on anything with 600 people. Think about how long it takes to like solve a problem whenever there's like 600 people, like 7 different levels of like administration that it has to go through and red tape. Then on top of that, there's like console compatibility that it has to do. Like you put all of these things together. And I think that these big studios, like, for example, Blizzard, Ubisoft, EA is kind of like this, Activision, like they become too big instead of to fail. They become too big to succeed. They're so big that they can't move and like pivot and be agile enough to respond to what communities want and what players want. Because like they make a decision and then that decision takes 5 years to happen. Well, in 5 years, the entire gaming landscape is going to be totally different. And you see that with like Heroes of the Storm, right? Or like other games like that. Yeah. It's just too slow.
That quote you just said, the company's too big to succeed. Yeah. And what was the other part of it?
That's it, right? It's to be succeed. It's like turning a ship, right? It's like, for example, like if you were in like a very small Viking longboat, you could have easily just turned away from the iceberg, right? The Titanic hit. But a big ship like that can't turn and move that fast. And I think that's really that's the world that we're in. And you're seeing a lot of these like really small games, like things like Vampire Survivors and like all of the other clones that spawned off of Helldivers 2. And you're seeing a lot of these games that are like really, really strong, kind of small slices of an experience, rather than being these like massive blockbuster games that, these companies invest over $100 million into and nobody really cares about them. Like Suicide Squad, for example. It's like these games are supposed to be like, these huge live service games that are massive and then nobody's playing them, right?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like I just started playing Helldivers, and I started to enjoy it. And I think what's killed not gaming for me, I have to reprogram my brain because I would play Escape from Tarkov, I would play Street Fighter 6, where when you play that game, there's a hard consequence if you die. Like if you die in Escape from Tarkov, you lose all your shit. It's like, well,
right.
It took me 30 minutes to get all my load up, make sure I have the right ammo. I die, I lose it all. When I play Street Fighter 6, if I lose my ranking, and I'm trying to get master, that way I can start climbing the rank. When I play Helldivers, I died, I'm like, oh, I just died, I just do it over again. I died, I just do it over again. And somebody says, you're missing that endorphin release. You're searching for that consequence of dying or whatnot. Yeah. And I'm trying to reprogram myself and get into Helldivers. And so far, I think the game's done very well. I'm kind of curious to see what type of content they're going to keep on releasing down the line to keep players coming back for more, right? Like, if I do, the best experience I've had in a game so far is playing that little mini game on the ship. Like I
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, guys, I'm just down to play this game. Like I don't need to go shoot bugs. I'll just keep going.
Yeah.
But that makes sense. Like having a smaller company that can be able to navigate in the ocean and dodge, icebergs or wreckage ship or whatever is a lot more, I could say, applicable to be successful. But if you have a big Viking ship and it's like, guys, 700 people, we need to check what this guy's doing, what he's Billy going to do. That makes sense. I never really looked at it that way. And that's kind of like eye-opening with anything, I feel like. Even in like, when you said that, I was thinking about myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, I mean, Dune 2, that's super successful. People are giving that 9 out of 10 in theaters. But that's 1 out of what? 10, right? Like,
Madam Web, right? Like that movie comes out, people don't, right. And so it's like, it's not going anywhere. Because like, you're right. And like, you do have those like super good AAA experiences that are like insane. Like we had Elden Ring, for example. Because there are the times, there are the times that the big, huge developer comes out with this amazing game and it's actually as good as people want it to be, right? It does happen. But I think that also like, and that's kind of like the issue is that whenever it doesn't, like whenever you have like a smaller scale game that doesn't really hit, well, it's like, okay, well, we're out, like $20 million, $10 million, $50 million. That's bad. That's very bad. But it's nothing in the same realm as being out $500 million.
Oh,
especially
1,000%.
whenever it's a live service game. So now you're committed to running this game indefinitely. whenever you're losing money on it every single month.
That makes sense. How come you haven't made a game? Like I sit here and I listen to you, how you articulate your words, how you look at different games, and what's going to be a great game, what's a fun game to play. And sometimes when I listen to you, you're like, guys, just make a fun game to play. People want to play games that are fun. And I sit here, I'm like, shit, well, how come Asmon hasn't made a goal? How come he hasn't made a game yet? Why haven't you got together with, your boys, the One True King, which we'll get to that later. How come you guys sound like, guys, we're going to make a fucking badass game? Why hasn't that happened?
Well, the reason why is because I actually am working. Like, we started a publishing company to publish different games, Mad Mushroom, and we are going to be like publishing games and like working with developers. But the reason why I don't want to be directly involved with making a game is because I don't understand programming and I don't understand the way that a game is made on like a super fundamental, like nuts and bolts level. So like, I don't think that I can properly manage and give insight and be like, if you ever like worked a job where it was like your manager didn't know what the fuck they were doing, and then like, right. Yeah. And so like, I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh yeah, just go fix it, whenever I don't have any frame of reference to understand like what that job really means. And so that's kind of the reason why I don't go and do that myself. But I do want to be part of making a game or being involved in the game, but I don't want to be directly involved because I don't feel like that's not really that's not what I'm good at, really. Like, I don't have the education or experience in it.
Gotcha. Hey, more power to you, because there's people out there who would, even though they don't have the education or the experience to do it, they would just do it anyways. I mean, shit, hell, that's probably half the staff at Blizzard, for all we fucking know. But
I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah.
Well, I sit here, I'm like, God, like each time you would do a review in a game and you sit there, you play it through, you start from the very beginning, you go through, you play 3 hours of it, and you give an honest review, and I'm like, God, I feel like he can make a really good game. You give honest criticism and critiques of games, and you also listen to what the community, like when I was going through this whole thing, you're like, guys, Blizzard, we didn't ask for this fucking amulet to level up. Like, nobody asked for this. So why are you doing it? But I just feel like you would be very successful in making a game, and I respect the fact that you don't have the education to do it. Well, I mean, I can't wait to see what you guys come up with, even though you're not, the director of creating the game, you're involved in it. So I'd love to see, because I'm sure when you're going through making yes or no's, you're probably like, guys, that's fucking stupid. Like, let's change that.
I've done that many times.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. Like, that's where things get done. And since you guys are on a small Viking ship, you're able to navigate that sea very well.
Well, it's also, I really appreciate it. Thank you. And I think for me, you're totally right. Like, it's going to take a long time for us to get to the point where we're publishing something that's of the scope and the scale of like World of Warcraft or like Diablo 4 or Helldivers 2. Like, that's like a huge stretch goal. I couldn't even imagine doing something like that right now. But the way that you get there is by doing little ones and then building yourself up to it. Like, Blizzard's first game wasn't World of Warcraft either. So it takes a lot of time to be able to get to that position and experience too. And, like, do I trust myself to manage something like that with little to no experience right now? No, I don't. And so like, I want to, like further educate myself and gain experience in the field and then effectively level up to that point to where I can maybe do that one day.
Gotcha. No, I love it. I can't wait to see it, man. I'm a big fan. I can't wait to try one of the games you guys produce. Now let's talk about the One True King.
Listen.
Okay, let's talk about this. What made you guys want to do this? I remember the intro video. You guys dropped the trailer. You guys were all about the bonfire. It's you and your boys. No marshmallows are being roasted. You guys got all these swords. I was looking for a Star Wars battle of the swords. Yeah. What made you guys come together and create this organization?
Well, I think that a lot of the reasons. So, like for me, I was invited to join another org, and then I thought to myself, like, okay, I could go do this, or I could just start my own thing and just do my own org. And it was kind of a really big idea at the time. This was like 2018, late 2019. And the reason why I decided to do it is because I thought to myself, like, this is a way to kind of like future proof and, add context to like my career in a way that is going to last a lot longer than being a streamer. Because like at the time, I had only been a popular streamer, content creator for maybe like 2 years at that point. And so even probably not even that long. And so like there's streamers, like it's kind of weird for me to think about, because whenever I first like started hitting 20 and 30,000 viewers regularly, almost every single person that was also doing that isn't doing that now, right? There's like a huge amount of like turnover. And it took me a long time to kind of like get over the anxiety of that. And even sometimes now, like it'll stress me out, like, oh, it's like, I think I should work harder and do this, right? Or whatever. Yeah, it does, right? And like, but that's a good thing, because that means that you want to keep improving, you keep getting better, right? And so I'm not even complaining about it at all. I think it's good. Like the moment whenever you stop thinking that, that's the problem. And so I did that, and then I got together with like SFan, and then I knew Tips, and then like we brought in Mizkif as well. And then like I started talking to Nick pretty much right away as well. And we thought this was a good idea for us to like do events and make content together, but at the same time, like actually be able to have like a system that supports it, and we can monetize it in a way that's like that's possible. Because back then, like there were a few types of like content orgs, like offline TV, and FaZe was kind of like this, and 100 Thieves was also kind of like this. But we wanted to go completely, like we had like one esports team that we supported for a while, but then we just decided that wasn't really the direction that we wanted to go in as like an org. And so we kind of like moved past that. But before then, we weren't really entirely sure how the org was going to go. And, as time went on, like obviously like different things happened. And then we started Starforge, and then we started, like Mythic Talent. And so we kind of found different ways to be creative outside of streaming as well, with like making different types of content and leveraging like our audiences and, our experience with connecting with audiences, with selling different types of things, and kind of bringing different things to like customers' attention, and, try to create like a better product that, like really doesn't exist in a lot of cases, or didn't exist in a lot of cases before then.
That's crazy when you mentioned that, like how you have the anxiety, you're streaming at 30,000 viewers, and then next, you might have 15,000 viewers.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing I feel when it comes to being a full-time streamer, is you're relying on entertaining people. And when you entertain them, you're hoping they subscribe, you're hoping they keep on subscribing throughout the year, so that's your monthly income.
Money,
but you've always lived, from my perspective of you, when I watch your videos and when you go outside, you do your talks, you live a very simple life. You even did a video on it that you live a simple life. So for me, it's like you got to have enough money to, if you wanted to stop streaming today. I heard you used to work at the IRS, so I'm sure you're very good at paying your tax. I'm sure you're very good at, maximize your 401k, your SEP IRA, your S corporation, whatever you got going on. If you wanted to stop streaming today, you probably don't have to work ever again.
No, I'm never going to quit working though, because I like doing it.
Yeah. And that's why
doing it's great.
Yeah, and when I hear you have anxiety, I'm like, man, you're good. You could always continue to work, but if nobody shows up, you're like, I'm still gonna keep on doing it. That's why I tell my producer, I'm like, dude, as long as we keep making great content and content that we're passionate about, right? We can't always search for the best story, or right now, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul is about to happen on Netflix. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. He goes, what do you think? Should we do a video? And I was like, we'll do video down the road. We don't have to capture.
Who do you think is gonna win?
Oh God. Oh, man. Mike Tyson should win. But let's be honest, he's almost 60 years old. Jake Paul's a young guy, 28, 29. It's going to come down to Mike Tyson's chin. And how is his body going to respond to getting in a fight with a 30-year-old man? That's what it's going to come down to, because Jake Paul will never have the accolades or the skill set or the knowledge that Mike Tyson had, just because he's not going to go through that. But Mike Tyson's black ass better win. Who do you think is going to win, Asmon?
I think that if it was, so it's an exhibition match, right? So like it's not going to go into like a knockout. I think that if it went into a knockout, I think that if Mike Tyson didn't knock him out in the first 3 to 5 rounds, Jake Paul would win. Because like, as I said, like you look at all these clips of like Mike Tyson fighting, I've seen them. They're very, very short, and he is almost 60. And it's like, I mean, I wouldn't want to fuck with him either, right? I mean, oh my God. Mike Tyson, like in my opinion, he's like one of the best boxers of all time, right? He's a god. And so it's like, absolutely, I would not want to deal with that. But Jake Paul is, I mean, he's won a lot of fights and he is in shape. And it's not like, I mean, this guy's not the greatest fighter of all time. Absolutely not. But at the same time, he just has such a massive genetic advantage because he's 30 and Mike Tyson's almost 60. And I think if the fight goes too long, I'm worried Mike Tyson's just going to run out of gas.
Yeah.
That's what I think is going to happen. But I don't know. I mean,
yeah, I mean, the last time Mike Tyson fought, he got high as fuck in the locker room. That's what he said when he fought Roy Jones Jr. He goes, man, I got high just so I can move around and feel good or whatnot. Since we switched it over to fighting, do you watch mixed martial arts?
I do if I have the opportunity to. Like, if it's on somewhere, I'll definitely pay attention to it and watch it. Like, for example, like Mizkif did that event, and I watched that event. I thought that was pretty fun to watch. And just any other time, I'll definitely pay attention to it. Like, I don't really spend a lot of time watching it, like, just on my own, like by myself. But I do really like it a lot. I like watching it. Like, I remember I was talking to somebody, and like we were talking about you, and I was like, yeah, you were doing like real anime shit. That's what I told them whenever we were talking about it. So, like, yeah, I'm familiar with it, though. I definitely am.
Do you have any favorite fighters you like to watch? I mean, I just try to pick gauge, like, you know, do you have any favorite fighters?
I don't know if I really do. I don't know if I'm that into it. Like, I'm familiar with who the fighters are, and like,
what do you think of Conor McGregor? What do you think of Conor?
Like, he's such a fucking asshole. He's such a fucking asshole. He is, and he's great. He's like, he's the perfect villain, right? Like, he's like the perfect mix of like being a like kind of like a good guy and a bad guy at the same time. And it's like, I was kind of happy whenever he lost against Floyd Mayweather, and whenever Khabib beat the shit out of him, I was like, that's what you get. You know, you're such a dick. And it's like, I like Conor McGregor, but he definitely does play that character where it's like, you want to see him win, and you also want to see him get his ass beat.
Gotcha. Everybody knows who Conor is. I remember I was playing Counter-Strike one day, and they're like, and I was streaming, they're like, they said, the chat was like, hey, ask if they know who Conor McGregor is. And I was like, you guys know who Conor McGregor is? They're like, of course we do. You think you're living on a fucking rock? I was like, oh, do you know who Demetrious Johnson is? He goes, nah, we don't know who that guy is. I was like, oh, well, it's all good. Let's just keep on playing, guys.
Oh, man. It's definitely like some of those fighters are like really, really well known. UFC's blown up in a huge way recently.
Yeah, it has. I mean, it's now, I mean, I work out at a gym right now at UFC Fit, and every single day when I'm working out, you have ESPN on, you have the football highlights on, even though football's over, you have basketball, you have some fights on, but every single, Monday, Tuesday, it's always talking about the fights that just happened over the weekend. And I tell everybody, like, it is a marketing machine. Like, in the United States of America, it's all UFC. If you go over in Asia, it's one championship, and it's just those two monsters. It's one championship and the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense because, like, especially with UFC, you have like actual characters, whereas like in sports, there isn't like the same type of interest and intrigue. Like with a lot of times, like, I mean, you have like, for example, I'm trying to remember who it was, the guy that played with Michael Jordan. And he like went to North Korea. Who I'm thinking of, right?
Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman, there it is, right?
Yep.
And he's such a good character, right? And you need more people like that are just like really interesting. And I think that the fact that like Dana White and UFC just pretty much let the fighters do whatever they want, say whatever they want, it makes them characters. And so a lot of people like want to tune in to watch them because they're actually interesting people. And like, I think that's the big component that UFC has, that a lot of like traditional sports doesn't have as much because it's a lot more controlled.
Gotcha. Now, do you do any working out yourself? I know you watch mixed martial arts. Do you go to the gym and try any MMA? I know Mizkif has his own gym or whatnot. That's where he did his last fight. Are you into, bringing a sweat?
I mean, I definitely think I should. Like, I really do. I do exercise a little bit. I have like some weights down here, and I did that sometimes, but like not really. I need to exercise a lot more, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, I used to exercise pretty regularly. I used to be very fit before I played World of Warcraft, and then I started playing, and that kind of stopped happening. And otherwise, yeah, I mean, I like the whole idea of like being athletic, at least to an extent too. Because like for me, I mean, I've always been like very skinny and like naturally like feeling pretty, I would say, good. And so I'm getting a bit older now, so I want to make sure that keeps happening.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the bald situation. Balding.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now I'm bald.
Yeah.
Okay, and before, but he said, yeah.
By choice or is it just how it is?
Unfortunately, it is about how it is. But I have accepted it, and I only grow the cul-de-sac right here, and so I just bick it.
Just
but
get rid of it.
You know, I remember Ash's creation. They made a character of you. I don't think they made you bald. I can't remember when somebody made you bald in a game, and you guys like, guys, I'm not going bald. And then all of a sudden, I feel like you grew your hair out. You got a ponytail now. Let's talk about this baldness situation. How did this come about? Was somebody just fucking with you on the chat?
Well, it's the reason why people call me bald is because I am balding. I do have a receding hairline, and that's the reason why. And it's like because I was actually talking about this in my chat today, and like the truth is that like my hairline hasn't really gotten that much worse ever since I was like 24 or 23, but it's definitely fucked up, right? And to me, like I don't really know why. I mean, every guy in my family is pretty much kind of bald and like has like receding hairline, so I've kind of got things stacked against me. I thought about, like, I told everybody I would at least go in for, like, there was like a charity thing that I did. And I said, like, for a charity goal, I will go in and get at least a hair transplant consultation, right? I'll I'll record it and talk to them and just like get, see what they say, right? It'll be kind of embarrassing for me, but that's part of the show, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, I would definitely like, for me, I can't go bald because I'm too skinny. So like if I went, but I mean, because you know what that looks like, right? It's like if you're a bald guy and you're in shape, you're a big dude. Like look at me, like Jeff Bezos, fucking massive now, and he's bald and he looks awesome, like The Rock or like even you. And so that looks great. But it's like if you're skinny and you're bald, it's like, oh man, that's just it's just not gonna cut it. So,
well, I mean, you can always get on TRT, and then all you gotta do is go to Turkey and get a consultation in Turkey, and you just they'll take care of you, man.
Yeah, I mean that's what might have to happen, man. I might have to take a quick trip over to Turkey and just solve the problem. But I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, honestly, because I like having hair, and like even if I want to shave my head or whatever, I like the option of being able to have hair. But I usually change my hairstyle pretty regularly, at least a little bit. But recently, I've just had to change it to different ways that obscure the fact that I'm balding.
Gotcha. Huh, well, I can't wait to see what we do next. I think it's about that time you're about to change your hairstyle. If I'm following you're changing up soon.
Yeah, I might have to happen pretty soon.
What game are you looking forward to coming out? Obviously, Ashes of Creation is a big game I see you doing a lot of content on, but I don't know when that's coming out. What in the near future are you looking forward to coming out? Obviously, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Elder Tree is coming out. Yeah. What other games are you looking forward to?
Right now, I'm really excited about playing Dragon's Dogma 2, and I'm super excited about that game. And then after that, like, I'm sure that like Cataclysm will come out. I might play that for a while. And then afterwards, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree is like a really, really big one. And after that, maybe, hopefully an Ashes of Creation beta or like an alpha that people can actually play in, because I've been keeping up with the game for a long time and it's been great, but I'd like to see actually and play it myself.
Why Dragon Dogma 2? Why are you excited to play that game? Like I've seen parts of 1. I never really got into it, but why are you so excited to play a number 2?
Because Dragon's Dogma and Dragon's Dogma 2 is the first game that I feel like has ever encapsulated my favorite movie of all time, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, where it's actually like you and adventurers going out on an adventure together, and the immersion feels like they're not like just simply NPCs. They are, of course, but they behave like normal people and they act in ways that are dynamic, that make the content more interesting. And I think that the idea of going out on an adventure with other people, Dragon's Dogma creates that narrative in a lot of ways, even better than some MMOs do. And so that's what I found to be like very interesting about it, because I know a lot of other games that try to do that, but it just doesn't really happen.
Now, is it a multiplayer game or is it a single player game?
Single player game. That's the thing.
Even even number 2 is?
Yeah, it's single player. Unfortunately, I'd like if it was multiplayer, but it is what it is.
Gotcha. Because I figured when you were talking like that, I felt like you go on adventure with your buddies. That's one of the things I always felt like Elden Ring was kind of missing. Like,
exactly.
Even Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Bloodborne, it's like, man, how dope would it be? It's like, hey, Asma's going to be, a healer, or not a healer, but you're going to be a mage. I'm going to be a samurai. Joe Buddy is going to be this person. We're going to start at level 1 and we're going to grind like 30 hours together. Nobody could play without us. Almost like if you take the same thing with World of Warcraft and you put it in Elden Ring, where it's like, hey, you have a massive city, you could do trades. Almost like, what's that fucking game that it was New World? Almost like New World, but make it more better graphics, I think. Give the person more options to have combat, I would say. Yeah. Like, I feel like if they can make like New World and Elden Ring, and then have Elden Ring and New World get married, and then one of those two has an affair with World of Warcraft, I think you have the perfect game.
Oh man, I'm just really hoping that's going to be Ashes of Creation. I'm going to be honest. Like, there's that, and there's also there's like Arcade 2 that's coming out. Throne and Liberty is coming out, but that's kind of already known because it was in Korea. It's got like pay to win shit in it. It's probably not going to be that great of a game, but it'll be something to do. And like, I think that a lot of people, like, you look at a lot of these like isekai anime things, and every single one of them is a person being transported into an MMO. It's because people want to have that experience. They want to have that shared world that they're, fighting with like some sort of concerted effort, and there's like politics to it, and, intrigue and everything in between. So people want that. It's just that every single game in some way or another ends up sabotaging itself. Like, it either makes itself pay to win, or the design of the game is like such a waste of time. And it's like, oh, you have to do this like New World. Like, you had all these different places where you were storing the same ingredients of things, and you had to go travel and move them around. It's like just so annoying, right? And yeah, that's really what it was. So it's like, what is this? Like, why are you doing this? Like, like, it's the same thing with WoW. It's like, why are you, like, with BFA, for example, like corruptions were great, but like getting them was awful. And it's like, you see these developers for these MMOs, especially, just like intentionally making the game worse. And I don't know how to address that. What do you do there? I have no idea.
See, I'm shocked like nobody's ever gave you an opportunity to come on. Like, if I was Blizzard, I'm like, Asmongold thinks he's so fucking smart. Come here, Asma. We're going to give you a fucking 6-figure salary, and you're going to fix this fucking game. We're going to give you a year to see if you can fix it. I'm shocked nobody has ever given you the opportunity to come on and be on the board and help fix their games. Like Ashes of Creation. I'm shocked. I'm like, hey, Asmon, can we come here, test the game? I want your brutal, honest opinion about what can make this game better at the stage it's at right now. Nobody's ever gave you the opportunity.
Well, I mean, like, number one, there's no way that Blizzard will offer anybody a 6-figure salary. But number one, Number two, I do think that, like, you're definitely right that, like, it would be nice to help and work on a game, but, like, honestly, I'll do it for free. I just want to play a fun game. Like, that's all there is to me for it. Like, I'm not worried about, like, getting paid or making money off of this particularly. Like, I just want to play a fun game, and, I'll always give my insight into, like, what I think that, a developer should do. And I think that a lot of developers do listen, and, like, you'll see a lot of changes that get made in the game because of, like, community feedback, whether it's me or somebody else or anybody else. I think it's very common, actually, which is a good thing. You're seeing more games that actually, like, are actively listening to communities. And, like with Ashes of Creation, like, I don't really like telling them, like, the developer has, like, their own vision for, like, what they want the product or the content to be. And I think that they should adhere to that vision. But I also think that in order to adhere to that vision, they have to fully understand sometimes what the consequences of that vision can be. And so, like, there are negative versions or negative, like, aspects of, like, certain types of content. And I wish that more people was able to kind of see those negative aspects as well. And that's why some of the videos that I do, it's not like, oh, the developers have to do this, but it's like, if the developers don't do this, this is how it's going to affect the game. This is what's going to happen.
Gotcha. And where do you think you get that insight from? Do you think you get that insight from, or that perspective from? Do you think you get that from just playing so many games? Because, you're playing, I mean, you played Helldivers, you played Dragon's Dogma 1, you're getting ready for number 2. Like, where do you feel like you get that that edge, as you call it? Like,
I think that one part of it is that I just listen to what people tell me. I listen to what people say. And like, you have people that are saying like, hey, we don't like this. This is a bad thing. And I think about it and I look at it logically, like, okay, how does this actually work? How is this fitting into the gameplay? And is it really fun, or is it something that's just added in for no reason? And I think what ends up happening is that you have a lot of types of content that get added into a game, and it's just put in there, and the developers kind of get they dig in and they're like, this is our position, this is the way we want to make the game. And a lot of times it happens in a way that's very reactionary. It's not something that's like about how to make the game better. It's like about them trying to preserve like this thing that they really want players to do. And so the way that I figure out things that are like good or bad is like, I'm a very lazy guy in a lot of ways. And so because I'm so lazy, I think about what would a lazy person do, and then it gives you a lot of insight. It does, because lazy ass people are the ones that make the metas. They're the ones like, how can you put in the least amount of effort in a video game and still succeed? And that's going to be the YouTube video that's the most popular, because that's what people want to be able to do. So I think really this is the reason. And like, also like, I don't have any sort of like crazy, like divine insight into video games, but what I do have is that I have the ability to like listen and look at what people are saying and then react to that and respond to it, and then be like, hey, I think they're right about this, and this is accurate and this isn't. And I think that's what the development studio needs a lot more more of.
Gotcha. When you said lazy people, I was thinking I was driving to the gym the other day with my son, and he goes, Dad, why are people homeless? And I go, because they're fucking lazy.
Perfect. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Just no other explanation. Yeah, they're just lazy. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, there it is.
No. Yeah. That was one of them, and I told him other situations, like, you know, some people get sick, they fall into drugs, Yeah. But my first honest reaction was like, they're fucking lazy, because
they're fucking lazy. Yeah.
I mean, I had a friend, he was running drugs. He was like, man, I'm making $15K a pop, And next you know, he goes to jail and he gets out. He goes, all right, I'm gonna do this right. I'm gonna get a job at Home Depot. He got his fucking first check after working 40 hours a week, and it was like I don't know, like it was like $600. He goes, you fucking kidding me? He goes,
I'm going back to drugs. Yeah.
I'm going back to drugs, right?
Exactly.
And I was just laughing, and that's why, you know, he went down that road, and then now he's doing good. But when you just said lazy people, you know, when you're making a game, you're going to think about what will a lazy person do when they play this game. And that's going to be the meta, because it's going to be the easiest way to get it done and be successful at playing the game. And I just never looked at it that way. And it's absolutely fucking hilarious, I think.
Yeah. That's the thing, is a lot of people, like, being lazy isn't always a bad thing. It just is bad if you're not doing anything. But like, being lazy is also being efficient in a lot of cases. So like, for me, like, I want to get something done with like as much time or effort as possible. That way, if I do it 50 times or I only have 2 hours, I can get the most out of those 2 hours. And so I think that it's just like a matter of mindset and understanding how players think and how players respond to content is something that I think really good game designers, like the people that made Classic WoW, or like the people that made Elden Ring, that's the kind of like really like genius insight that they have, is that they can understand where people are coming from for these different things and try to, like, video game design. I think especially for MMOs, it is game design, but a lot of it is psychology too. And the best designers, I think, understand the psychology just as well, if not better, than the actual game design itself.
Damn. Okay. All right. Before I let you go, thank you so much for giving me your time, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Asmon is absolutely amazing. What is two last questions?
Yeah.
One, what is the best transmog that always gets the W when you used to do the transmog? You know, you go to this server, you do transmog competition, you go to this server. What's one that's like, oh, yep, that's what it is. This one wins, guys. I'm sorry, it's game. It's a W. What is it?
If I had to say like anyone that I really like, I would say that any combination that makes Warrior Tier 3 gear look different than it already does, but it's also still really cool, would be a winner, because that's pretty much my favorite set in the game.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
which one was the hardest for you to get? Like for me, I've always, you know, I never forget when you know how when you play the game and then eventually you're at burning Battle for Azeroth, I'm just using that for example, you can go back and do the Black Temple and you keep on doing it every single week to hope you get the, Illidan's drop. Which one was it for you that you grinded the most for to get?
If I had to think about that the most, I actually think that it would indeed be Illidan's Warglaves. Because so all of this happened before I streamed. So nobody even knows about this.
Oh.
But basically, I got the first Warglaive at the very beginning of Wrath of the Lich King, and I got it by looting it to myself without anybody else knowing that was going to happen. And so as karma for that, I then spent I was in Wrath of the Lich King, and then I spent the next 2 or 3 years every single week farming for the offhand Warglaive. And I think it took me like 55 attempts of doing it. 55, yeah. And think about back then, you needed a full raid to do Black Temple. So I had to get a whole raid together, get everybody in there and do that. And at the end, or actually I think towards like the middle or end of Cataclysm, an entire expansion later of farming it every single week, I finally got it.
Wow.
And so that was brutal.
So chat, for the viewers, I said chat. For the viewers who don't understand how World of Warcraft works is that you have a main raid and you go in there and you have, I think it's 20 or 25 or was it?
Well, back then it was 25.
Back then 25. Molten Core was 40 people, right? I think Molten Core was 40. But so you had 25 people and you all have your own jobs and you get one drop once a week. And then you have to wait the next Tuesday for it to reset and you go do the dungeon again. So he had to wait 55 weeks for the offhand to drop because his bad karma. And I'm assuming when you looted to yourself, you were kind of the, what's it called? The guild, not the guild leader. You were the party leader and you get to dictate because everybody rolls for it.
I was the master looter.
You're the master looter. So nobody knew that it dropped and Asmon just slid right into his little satchel.
I was like, guys, I'm gonna need this just real quick. Like, and then one guy was mad. I'm like, that's me. Don't worry about it, man. It's going to be okay. It is what it is. And so that was an old game, right? That's the old me. And so I did that and, I had to pay for it with karma, having to spend an entire expansion farming the other one. But I did finally get it.
Yeah. Okay. And then what has been your favorite raid in an expansion?
I think that my favorite raid of all time is Ulduar. I really, really liked Ulduar. And besides Ulduar, Throne of Thunder from Mists of Pandaria was an incredibly good raid. I really enjoyed that a lot. Personally, I also like the first raiding tier of Cataclysm because I just thought that was again, WoW and looking back on it, there's always so much nostalgia that goes into it because I think about what was I doing back then? I remember I had just finished a semester in college. And it was Cataclysm came out and I just joined this new guild and all the boys were back together. And so it was all right, let's go. And so I was so excited and so happy about that. So I would say that probably was those are some of my favorite raid tiers. But if I had to say one, it would be Ulduar.
Gotcha. And what about your favorite expansion?
Favorite expansion? I think Classic WoW is the best version of WoW.
Classic WoW.
I do. And I don't even think it's close. The reason why is Classic WoW is the only game that's a true MMO experience more than just right now, you play retail WoW and it's basically everybody sitting in the city waiting to queue into another type of activity. Whereas in Classic WoW, you have reasons to go out in the world with world buffs. You have reasons to go do different things in the game. And I think that makes a real MMO. And I think that a lot of developers and even Blizzard now struggles with how to make a game that has friction in the game without making it just awful. Because you want to have friction and you want to have tension and a little bit of texture to different problems the game has. Not really problems, but challenges the game has. But the problem now is that I think a lot of games are focusing too much on trying to overcome those problems rather than giving people the tools to solve them and feel good about solving them.
Gotcha. Well, I think two things on that. I feel one, you just hit it on a nail when you talked about earlier, lazy, right? When you would play, the original Classic WoW, it's oh man, I got to run all the way over here to get this mission done, or I have to farm this much copper veins to level up, and then I gotta make it. I gotta do it. But when you did that, you have to put the hour, you have to put the grind in, and you can show off. Like there's some sense of like affirmation that you did that. It's a payoff. Yeah, it's a payoff. For now, it's like you're right. Oh, I got a queue. Like I think there's a plus and a minus. I think the plus to it for a guy like me who has 3 kids and a wife, I sit in the city, I'm going to do one dungeon real quick, I'm going to get off. I don't have time to sink 2 to 3 hours in. I'll never forget, I was playing WoW one day. The wife went to work. We used to work at Red Lobster. And I was a lone rogue in Hillsbrad Foothills. And I remember putting 3 hours into the game. And I remember after 3 hours, I looked at my fucking inventory, my satchel. I got nothing done. I just ran around the foothills for 3 hours. Just da 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 da. And I'm like, I'm wasting my time. But I had a good time. I enjoyed it. And then I think the second one was when they released Cataclysm. I think that kind of like killed it for me. So because I was so involved with the Cathalis, the Sunwell, Illidan. Just that whole Burning Crusade and, Arthas. And then when Deathwing came out of the fucking death home, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? I didn't hear about him. I'll always hear about Sargeras, the Legion, all those guys. I'm like, what's going on? And that's what kind of like pushed me away from WoW. The Mist of Pandaria, I didn't even play that one. So I was like, well, you got fucking pandas fighting each other. I was just like, damn it. But yeah, I miss WoW dearly. It's okay though.
Oh man, and Legion did have that storyline again. I was really happy. Like that was fucking badass. Whenever especially Illidan just it's like disenchanting Gul'dan and just follow me into the abyss.
Oh
this is fucking wow. Like yes, dude, this is what I want to see. And even Warlords of Draenor, this cinematic for that, I think is one of my favorite cinematics of all time. It's so badass.
Blizzard is probably the king dingaling of cinematics.
It's not even close. They're so good.
Yeah, it's like, damn, can we just play this game? Can we just do cinematic the whole fucking time?
That's what I thought the Warcraft movie was going to be. I thought it was just going to be an hour and a half cinematic. And I'm like, okay, I'm excited. This is what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rip. Oh man. Okay, Asmon, this is your opportunity to tell people where they can find you, your socials, your YouTube, the Twitch. Where can they find you, man?
Just Google Asmongold, you'll find me. That's it. That's my advice. Yeah.
Don't worry about the Wikipedia, boys.
Yeah, don't worry about any of that. You just find me. Just Google any of the results are probably going to be me, whether it's YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, anything like that. But yeah, man, I do appreciate you having me on. I had a good time talking about everything too.
Absolutely. One last thing I totally forgot, and then I'll let you go. How do you feel about where streaming is going? Right? What I mean by streaming is you have Twitch, you have YouTube, you have Kick, you had fucking Mixer, you had Facebook Gaming, and how do you feel, the landscape is for streaming, right? Because some people will say Kick is a Twitch killer because they're offering, content creators 90% instead of what Twitch is now at 50-50 or 70-30. YouTube's at 70-30. How do you see the landscape of streaming now? Because you've been streaming for a very, very long time, right? You see guys get exclusive content, exclusive contracts to YouTube, like Doc, Tim, Shroud, Dr. Lupo, all these guys. How do you see the landscape? Where I feel like I'm sure if you want to go to Kick, you can go to Kick because they'll give you a big ass contract. YouTube, same thing. Mixer, you could have did that as well. But for you stayed true to who you were because you built a community. But how do you see the landscape right now when it comes to streaming?
I had opportunities to go to other platforms. And the reason why I didn't is I just didn't really feel like it was worth it in the long run. Because I don't view myself, I don't really plan on ever retiring from streaming or stopping doing it. Let's say in 20 years, there might be something else that I'm doing more of than streaming. But I never feel like I'm going to just stop streaming entirely, if that makes sense. Yeah. And because of that, I don't want to sabotage my own career or sabotage my own audience or the way people see me by trying to go after money, because money I think is going to happen no matter what, as long as you're really putting in the work and, putting in good content for people. So I don't really have a problem with people that do go to the other platforms. I think it's a great decision, right? especially for somebody with like Dr. Lupo, who like had a wife and kid at the time. And it's like, this just secured his future for like, for good, right? And his kid's future. And it's like, how do you not do that if you're in his position? I totally understand that. But for me, like, I think that right now it's a great space for somebody to stream in. Now, obviously, a lot of people have been like critical of the way that Kick, like the way it exists, right? Is like, is it, oh, it's because of gambling or whatever? Like for me, I don't really care a whole lot about this. Like, yes, it's true, but Twitch also has gambling content on it. Twitch has more gambling content viewers than Kick does. So it's like, I don't like, is this really where I'm going to morally draw the line? I don't really think so. But if somebody wants to, that's totally fine, right? And like, I have no problem. Like somebody says like, yeah, I think this is too much for me, and I'd rather just be on a platform that didn't support this stuff. I really respect people's opinion to like, or their autonomy, right? It's like their choice to be able to watch this or not, or be part of it or not. So I'm not against it either. But what I do think is important is that, you know, like content creators think about the long term. I think that you see a lot of content creators nowadays, especially like the ones that are trying to get popular by doing, you know, like harassing people in public and stuff like that. I think that kind of, it's weird, right? And it's weird. And I also think that the problem with it primarily is that I don't think that it's going to last. Like if you do this, you create an audience of people who like seeing somebody get fucked with, and eventually you're going to get fucked with and they're going to like seeing that too. And also like, it's content that has a shelf life. And so I just hope a lot of those guys like are aware of that, and they start trying to like make things that have more longevity as well, and like develop a career that has longevity. Because you're already starting to see some of those like kind of like prankster people kind of just like completely, you know, fall off. And it's like, well, now you can't really go back on anything, right? It's like, how can you get a job in like the real world even, because you have like this weird reputation? So there's just so many problems with it. And so that would be my advice. Yeah,
I never understood that when people would be obnoxious on stream and it would generate so many people. Like my kids, they watch IShowSpeed. I don't know IShowSpeed.
I think Speed's great. I mean, and Speed in general, like I don't think he's really that bad of a dude. I like Speed. I think Speed's great. But like it's more or less like the harassers. Like Speed does things that are crazy and goofy, but there's other people that are like actively hostile and like aggressive. And like they'll go in public and like harass people for content. Like Speed usually just, you know, he sets his own room on fire, you know?
Yeah. That's what I mean. I'm like, I'll sit there and my kids are watching. I'm like, I'll be making breakfast, and I just see a kid on TV just yelling, like blowing my speakers up. I'm like, why is that guy fucking yelling so loud? Right. And I'm like, I'm like, I'm so disturbed. You guys are finding this entertaining. He just needs to relax, drink a glass of water. But that's what the people like. Yeah. Just chill out, right? And that's just my personality. Like sometimes I do be wilding out, but never obnoxiously where it's like, okay, this guy is looking for views. And I'm not saying IShowSpeed, because I've seen some of his content where he's at Brazil dancing and doing his thing, which that's like the type of content I enjoy. And I never forget when I saw Kick first came out and they saw this guy who was trying to get a hand job from a hooker, and he had two dudes in the room. I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm like,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? I'm not like, why not just do this off stream? So I totally agree with you. Like guys who are looking for creating content around that stuff where it's like kind of like taboo. Yeah. They're not going to last very long.
No, I don't think so. And like a lot of those guys, like there's definitely a shelf life to it. And like with Speed, I think that as Speed gets older, like obviously he'll probably do less of the yelling content in general. And really, I mean, Speed's a really young guy. And so like he's making content for other young guys. And like we're not as much young guys anymore. So it's like it doesn't necessarily relate to us as much. And so I don't have a problem with Speed's content at all. I think it's great because like that's what young guys want to see. And I remember whenever I liked content that was like that, whenever I was a kid, and now there's other kids that are into it as well. I think that the only problem is whenever you have content that is so like toxic in nature that it becomes like you're never really going to be able to, like it escalates so fast that it naturally has a very, very short shelf life of interest, because people that watch that kind of stuff always like seeing the ante upped and upped and upped. And eventually somebody ups it too much, like Ice Poseidon did. And, you know, he had that thing where he was like, he got a bomb threat on an airplane, and Twitch just permanently banned him. I said, this is too much, right? Because this like now we are providing a platform for somebody who effectively got a bomb threat called on an airplane because of his stream. And so I think that, people that do that, like, I don't think that in a lot of cases they're like these really bad, horrible people that like, oh, let's talk about how bad these people are. I think they're just usually kids looking for attention and trying to do it. And it's like obviously bad that they're doing it, but I don't really take it as personally or think that they're like really horrible people. It's just, that's what they're trying to do. They're doing their best and it's not really that great, but I just hope that they have a viewpoint of like, where is this going to go in like 2 years even, 5 years, 3 years, because you're probably not going to make enough money to live for the rest of your life in 2 years.
No, shit. I wish I could, but not gonna happen. and I got nothing but love for IShowSpeed. Just when I turn on the goddamn TV, and my kids are like, I'm like, why? Turn that motherfucker down. I don't know why he's yelling. Yeah. And I forget that he is younger. I think he's like 20, 21 or something like that. 19.
Man, I don't even know if he's. I think he might be 19. Yeah, he's really young.
So
guy.
he is a little bit younger. So yeah, I give him a pass. Just stop blowing my damn, Samsung TV up. God damn it. All right, Asmon. Thank you so much for your time. An absolute treat. I've always been a big fan of you, man. I love the content you keep on posting on YouTube and all the reaction videos and your eyebrows. Like, how do your eyebrows move like that? I
don't even know. I think it was honestly just because I was streaming and it was like a reward thing because like people would like say it a lot more. And then as soon as they started bringing it up, I started doing it more, and it just kind of escalated,
Oh, dude, it's like my favorite thing. Sometimes I was watching, I was like, look at his eyebrows, babe. She goes, yeah, they move a lot. And I was like, it's like its own brain. Like, do you see it? Do you see it?
Two separate ones.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of the MightyCast with the great Asmongold. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you like, subscribe, and also hit the bell to when we go live. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think, and we will see you guys in the next one. Cheer. Well, damn. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we just got done chatting with the great and powerful Asmon. I've been following this guy for a very, very long time. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of his. I'm a big fan of MMOs, and I got put on by Asmongold by watching his videos about World of Warcraft. And he's so intelligent. He's absolutely hilarious. If you guys have not checked out his videos, go watch him. His perspective and his insight and his keen on what's going to make a good game is absolutely hilarious. And he's right. All people want to do is play a good game. And when he made that analogy that if you have a company that has 700 people working on one single game, it's hard to navigate and listen to the community because you have to go through so many different channels in order to get stuff done. Whereas if you're on a small Viking ship and you're navigating the sea and you have 20 people working on a single game, yes, it might take longer for the game to come out. Yes, it might take longer for them to make changes, but the channels it has to go through in order to make those changes to listen to the community is very small, and it can happen a lot quicker. And what I mean by the game making changes in the game with 20 people, I'm sure it takes a lot longer to roll out the new patches and make bug fixes and changes. But that perspective hit me really hard, and I think that's what's also made me so successful in my mixed martial arts career is that there was only literally one cook in the kitchen with me, one coach, and it was Matt Hume. And then, we obviously had Brad Kurtzen, which was one of the other cooks. And that was it. It was Matt Hume and Brad Kurtzen. And then, I had other trainers prior to that. But in my later stage of my career in the UFC and then one championship, there was one sole provider, one sole cook, where you go to these guys where they have, this is my jiu-jitsu coach, this is my mixed martial arts coach, this is my boxing coach, this is my striking coach, this is this is my dietitian, this is my strength and conditioning coach. There's so many cooks in the kitchen working with one athlete. So when I felt like I kind of related that analogy to me when he said about that AAA game to a small indie development game. I really like that when he said that. Also, I wanted to do this because when I do these podcasts, yes, I talk about my passion, which is mixed martial arts, but I also like to talk about my main passion that got me started in creating content, which is gaming. And I wanted to have somebody who's been in the gaming space for a very long time. He's always played different games: Elden Ring, Dark Souls, Vampire Survivor, Helldivers, Warcraft Classic, all of the above. And I wish I could have talked to him more, ask him what do you think about Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo, Legend of Zelda, etc., etc. The list just goes on, because I feel like I can connect with more people who play games than I can who do mixed martial arts. So if you guys enjoyed this episode of the MightyCast, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try to get more of my favorite content creators on here, because I don't want to just keep on talking to other athletes. Even though I do enjoy talking to athletes, I also enjoy expanding and stepping out the box and talking to people who also share the same passion I do, which is gaming.